Right, so we will be discussing about the redundant interface now. So far, we have discussed so many interfaces. Today, we are going to discuss about the redundant. Now, redundant means, as the meaning, it's more than one interface. So basically, what you can do is that you can take two interfaces, or this is your FTD, and you can connect it to the switch or whatever it might be. But the only thing is that if one link goes down, there is another link. For example, I created the redundant interface and I have given an IP address like 10.1.1.0/24. So there is an IP address for that redundant with the zone name and everything. But currently I'm using only one subnet. But what if I want to utilize this redundant interface? Because for example, this is now 10 gigabyte, this is now 10 gigabyte. So total throughput, I do have a 20 gigabytes. I want to utilize that total 20 gigabytes. So what you can do is that you can create the sub interfaces too. So not even that I can create a redundant interface. That means it virtually create an interface, but it will merge these two links, whatever the links which you are providing, as one. So if you are connected to the switch, then you can go ahead and deploy many VLANs, different VLANs. And similarly, if you want that VLANs to communicate with the FTD, you can go ahead and create the sub interfaces also. So you do have the capacity of this one too. So let's move forward and configure that redundant interface. So I'm on my FTD one for now, which is the one which we are working on. So currently, according to my topology, I will be using the gig 7 and 8 interfaces going to my switch. So I will utilize those two. I will click on interfaces, click on redundant interface. I will give a name. I will say that redundant one, maybe. Security zone. I will create a new security zone. Redundant. And I'm giving a ID name maybe 1. Selecting the physical interfaces 7 and 8. And I'm giving my IP address, for example, maybe 10.1.1.0.1.10/24. And click on OK.
So
Once
you can only match maximum of two interfaces. You cannot do 3 or 4 interfaces together to work together as one.
Not more than 2 interfaces. Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't have option to provide 4 over there. I can have only option to give only 2 interfaces. So yes.
Yeah.
Right. So I've given this one redundant, and I will click on save, and I will deploy this one. Then I will also get the go to deployment. Deploy and deploy. Again, I am doing this. This is as the first time with you. All right. So let's get the putty now and connect to the FTD1. All right. So okay, it's very small. I will change that one to. Looks good now. So I'm in my FTD yet. I'm just waiting for this one to be deployed now.
Deployment failed.
My deployment has been failed. I don't know what's the reason why it is failing, to be honest. I did cross check each and everything. And it says that CTS manual BFT sessions are failing. But my switch is on, everything is good and fine. Both the interfaces should be able to communicate with using the switch. Everything should be good. But for some reason on the virtualization, it doesn't work. I don't know exactly why, but yes, it's not working. And I can go ahead and if you see that, I can go ahead and create these sub interfaces also. So you see that I do have a redundant interface. Now if I go to sub interface and I can select my redundant interface, you see that redundant one. And I can provide the subnet sub ID, interface ID, maybe 102 VLAN ID. 102, and provide a security zone, name if and
Name
the
if.
IP port.
Mm-hmm.
So these are normal things, but actual thing is that when I'm deploying the actual redundant interface, it's not deploying. I exactly don't know the reason in the virtualization. It's happening mainly in the
That's fine.
virtualization. All right, so that
That's
was your redundant interface. Now the another one interface, that is the tunnel interface, virtual tunnel interface. Now virtual tunnel interface is like, for example, if you are on the router, you will say that I want to create the interface, virtual interface one. You give the IP address, you give the tunnel source and tunnel destination. That's it. Here is also the same thing. Provide the name, maybe tunnel one, and provide a security zone because it's a layer three. I will create a new tunnel one. Give an ID name, tunnel one. So I will just remove that tunnel one from the name if. Security zone is tunnel one, ID is number one. I want the valid IP address. For example, I will say 10.1.103.10/24. And tunnel source, it will ask you for the interface. So which interface you want to exit out with. For example, if it's gig 0/0, if you want to exit out on the exit the tunnel on the outside interface, you select the outside, but I don't have the outside here, so I will select the inside. And dynamic, just keep it like that. That's it. So I'm providing the tunnel name, security zone, ID, and the IP address, and I'm saying that what is the exit. All right, what is the exit interface for that one? That's it. But if it was a router, you could have, you see that virtual tunnel interface are not supported on the device with lower than version 6.7. So my FTD is 6.5, so that's the reason it is not supporting. If it was 6.7, yes, it would have supported. If it was 7.0, it would have supported. Right, so that's your, yeah.
Are we still gonna do upgrade in this class?
Upgrade, I don't have the upgrade files to do that one.
I mean, we can download the upgrade from our Cisco website, right?
Yep, but I don't think so because I don't synchronize any license, number one. And this is in the evaluation. So I don't think so you can configure the upgrade. It might not support, yes. So that's why. System updates. So it's asking me to go to system and updates. Yeah. But these are with respect to your FTD, FMCs, but with respect to the FTDs.
I don't think you need a special license for upgrades. Once you have your license is valid for any version you're running, right? Download updates.
Fine. But anyhow, we will look this one in the later when we configure the routing, when we are connected to the internet. That's when I can download the updates. But for now, I cannot download because my FMC does not have access to the internet yet. All right.
Okay.
So that's the reason it will not even download. So we will keep this one in this class for the later on, but we will do it definitely. All right. So I will see if I am not able to get any patches or software updates, then I will ping you. You can just send me and I will do that one for you.
Okay.
All right, so that was your tunnel and redundant interface. And one more last interface, that is your Portchannel interface. Pretty complicated one. Now you cannot create this one Portchannel in your virtualization. It is only supported in the physical device. All right, so now Portchannel, you cannot create it from the FMC. If you see that I don't have any option in first place for the Portchannel. The device. So when that one comes up, I will show you up. So you do not have any option where it says that you can create an interface which is Portchannel. There is no option for that one. So what you have to do in that case is that you have to get the access to FX OS. This is your operating system now, because if you remember my FTD, first is Linux, FX OS, ASA, and FTD platform. So now this is where I have to be in FX OS. All right. Now you can get the HTTP access for that one, but it doesn't work, totally doesn't work in the virtualized environment. Okay, it doesn't even work. So even if I go ahead and enable the HTTP server for the FTD, still it will not allow the access for this one because that is for the physical chassis. That means when you enable the HTTP, okay, that's a different document where you will see how to configure the port channel. So when you access that HTTP web access, whenever you get that one, a chassis configuration will be open for you. So for example, you do have a chassis with the 8 ports. Yes, it will show up here like an 8 ports, and it will show your management port, console port, and it will show you what are the USBs and everything. It's like a hardware. So on that hardware, on that particular interface, you do have an option to configure the port channel. But again, this is like an advanced configuration because you do not utilize this one in the production mostly until unless it is a data center. Now you see that this is my data center where you do have a core switches over here. So when you have a core switches, definitely there will be a port channeling. But with respect to the core switch, there will be something called virtual port channeling, VPC. So what this will do is that with the port channeling, it will do the load balancing. Again, the virtual port channel with VPC also it's a load balancing, but it will enable each and every link which is connected to that particular switch. For example, in the port channel, what happens is like up to 4 links I can enable at a time. But if I have any 8 links, then 4 will be up, 4 will be down. So this is my issue. But whenever I configure the VPC, what happens is like my both of the FTDs, what they will think is that they are connected to the single switch. But in actual, they are connected to the 2 switches. That's the trick of the VPC. I'm just giving an overview, but you don't need to learn about that one. That's data center. So that's the reason we configure the port channel with the in the data center where you do have a lot of traffic going in and outside. That's where you try to load balance the traffic. And definitely in the data center, there will be core switches that will be mostly dependent on like port channeling and all those things. So that's where you will be configuring the port channel. Yes, and again, you do have an option to create the port channel, but it will be only in the physical device, and you can only create via using the FXOS operating system, that to getting the web access to the chassis and configuring manually. But with the virtualization, nothing. You cannot. All good with that port channel, where we use actually. All right. All right. So let's move forward with your upgrade thing.